Chapter 17. The kill room was hot and humid, noisy and dimly lit with no windows or ventilation. Workers yelled over thudding machinery and mooing cows. Butchers chopped flesh and bone over wooden blocks, their slops buckets overflowing around them, tongs and hearts on the floor, eyeballs pulsating in puddles of blood. From a conveyor belt line around the edges of the room, now sliced in half, cows dangled from clamps by their hoof, being dragged along one at a time. "What do you think, Slopsky?" Patanga asked. The vegetarian said nothing. He just stood in his latex gloves watching them pass, blood and snot dripping from their faces, their eyes twitching, almost winking at him. Another one came along, dangling away by its hoof. Quickly he ducked away from it. "Stop being so jumpy," Patanga said. "They're dead, see? Look over there." He pointed to the other side of the room. Daylight came in, and men stood in rubber gloves and aprons. One of them was wearing a Stetson, looking nasty with his bolt pistol in hand. "That's where they kill 'em," Patanga said. Anders saw cattle wagons being emptied and cows running up ramps, dashing through piles of dung toward a gate, then waiting for the man with the pistol, stepping away from daylight, entering darkness. "Another one down," the man in the Stetson said. "Send me the next one." Anders closed his eyes. A big red machine sliced through the cow's middle, cutting it completely in half. Then its hoof was clamped and up it went, hoisted along, another half cow on the conveyor belt line. When he opened his eyes again, he saw workers moving fast, digging into the cow with their knives, saws, tools, pieces of machinery, moving stomach, heart, bladder, skin, spinal cord, bone, sinew, fat, all sorts, all of it wet, all of it shiny and dripping with blood. And as Patanga had warned him earlier, the buckets filled fast. "Next one!" yelled the man in the Stetson. "Next one! Next one! Next one!" They followed Patanga over hearts, livers and eyeballs, passing dark-eyed, underslept workers ripping into cows like insane surgeons, reaching in with their tools, coming out with something wet and dripping. "I need an empty bucket," a boy shouted. "Where's Gollum?" Another voice said, "Hey, Patanga!" A bearded man then said arms rested on a metal rail, blood dripping from his fingertips. "Are we getting another Slopsky today or what?" "I'm dealing with it," Patanga said, looking around the room. Suddenly, a bucket containing a cow's stomach skidded towards Anders' feet. "I need an empty!" Voices yelled, asking for Gollum. Patanga was asking for him too. He climbed some steps, asking passing workers if they'd seen him. Another bucket skidded along. Blood and innards spilled from it. "They spotted your red top," Andrew laughed. Then Anders noticed a figure watching him, crouched and hidden in the shadows of the machinery. "Patanga!" he said. "Patanga, over here!" "Ah!" Patanga rubbed both his hands together. "There he is! Come, Gollum! Come meet your apprentice!" Gollum crept out slowly. He was very small and skinny, his body childlike, his face like that of an old man with bulbous eyes. He moved low to the ground, arms swaying like a chimp, knuckles almost grazing the floor. His beard was clotted with blood, bone and sinew. His hairnet hung to one side like a beret. "Now, boys," Patanga said, jumping off the steps. "This is a bloody hard worker." He took a latex glove from his pocket and put it on, resting his gloved hand on Gollum's head. "He's a good worker," he said, looking at Anders. Anders understood now what Patanga had mentioned earlier, how you couldn't catch Q fever on the loading bay, not unless Gollum paid you a visit. He looked as though he bathed in the slops buckets. "Teach him well," Patanga said, leading John and Andrew away. "He's all yours." "So," Anders said, turning to Gollum, "where should I begin?" Gollum took a slug-sized piece of sinew and began chewing it. "I wouldn't do that," Anders said. That can't be good." But Gollum continued, now showing it to him on his black reptile-like tongue. "I really wouldn't do that, my friend." But it was no good. Gollum had already swallowed it. "Where are you going now?" Anders said, watching him drag away the buckets, disappearing again underneath the machinery. "Hey you, red top! New guy!" a voice said suddenly. Anders looked up. There was a man yelling from the conveyor belt line, his face red and puffy looking, his boots covered with slops. A cow passed by, blocking his face. Then he appeared again, swearing, holding the cow by one horn and moving his knife inside it. More slop spilled out around him. "I need buckets," he said. "Get more buckets." "I don't know what to do," Anders said back, lifting his arms in the air. "You're a disgrace to that red top," a voice said, but Anders wasn't sure who had said it. The cows kept blocking their faces.